just were there created by somebody to make more money. I mean, I'm guessing the previous government was thinking that's how you create employment. Previous government was thinking that's how you fight unemployment, you create jobs in bureaucracy. Not realizing that you are killing thousands more jobs in private sector. And actually that was a great transformation, taking out the bureaucracy and allowing private sector to grow and to flourish. There are many interesting and innovative approaches that we adopted. I call them smart regulations. Two of them which I would like to emphasize is silence is consent and one government principle. By the way, these are terminologies which you may not heard, but these are the principles which worked very well in Georgia. One of the most difficult things when we were doing these reforms were actually we had an opposition, not from population, not from political opposition, but from our own government. Our own bureaucrats, and in some cases even our own ministers, and be careful, Mr. Vice President. You are just appointing ministers now, so we are the biggest opposition of these reforms because they thought they would lose power, they thought they would lose, I don't know, whatever it is, whatever they have there in their mind. So every time I would go to my own bureaucrats when I started as a Minister of Energy in the beginning, and to start to get rid of rules and regulations, they would tell me, no, it's impossible. It's how our fathers used to do it. And this is the best answer that they come up with. So then what we did, we said that, okay, that's fine. Let's have two overarching principles. One is silence is consent, which means that when a citizen is asking for a permit or for a license, an agency has 2 weeks for a permit and 1 month for a license to respond. If there is no response, it's a yes. That's it. Well, of course, our bureaucrats came up with innovative methods. On the 29th days, they started asking questions, getting answers, and so on and so on. But we said that, okay, you can ask questions once, that's it. And if there is no more objections, the answer is yes. So that's one principle. The second principle was one government principle, which is, I think, even more important. We said that no government agency can request to a citizen or a businessman to give them another paper from different government agency. If you want to get that paper, go get yourself. Now, why? The government agencies love to come up with new papers that you have to provide to them. Because they sit down as bosses, don't do anything that they are requesting you to do here, go there, here, and there. The moment we told them that, no, it's you who have to go there and here to get those papers, they started coming back to us, saying that we need to get rid of some rules and regulations. Oh, no! Really? I was telling you that 2 months ago. They said, yeah, we don't need so many rules and regulations. So actually, bureaucrats are the best who know how to simplify the things. And you have to make them to do that job. Because nobody else can do it better. It's just the way you structure that, you impose the rules and regulation that can work the best. So these are the kind of smart regulations that I think made a really mindset change inside of the government, mindset change inside of the society. This type of smart regulations gave us new opportunities and kind of got rid of all the different obstacles that the private sector had. I mean, for example, if you wanted to start business, in the past you had to go to 9 different agencies. From courts, statistics department, Ministry of Economy, Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Justice, and don't know what else. Right now, all you do is you go to a registrar, public service hall, you give your passport, and you say the name of the company, and they ask you in which bank would you like to open your account. That's how service-oriented these things have become. And in 20 minutes, you have a company with your bank account. And that's it. I mean, how do you change bureaucrats from I am your boss to customer is always right mentality? That was the challenge, and I think we did it in Georgia. And I think if we did it in Georgia, it can be done anywhere else in the world. And actually, one more, please go back. Yeah, one more regulation that I want to mention before going to some other parts is we call it piggybacking. It was a very interesting part, a situation where we had a very difficult approval system of importing medicines into the country. So we had a laboratory, any medicine had to go through laboratory checkup and so on and so on. It was so difficult that only 2 companies could do it. Of course, with a special arrangements, nobody else could got any license to import the pharmaceutical products in the country. But then we realized that Europeans like their population just as much as we do. And Europeans care about the health of their population just as much as we do. And they have much better resources, much better laboratories, and much better knowledge. So why don't we piggybacking on their procedures? And we said, whatever is allowed in EU and United States is automatically allowed in Georgia. That's it. Guess what happened? Right now, there are more than 6 or 7 importers. Instead of 2, there are up to 10 importers of medicaments in Georgia, and prices went down by, in some cases, 15%, some cases, 25%. So these are type of regulations that we are talking about. For example, in the past, in order for you to do any type of business, you had to get a license. For example, if you want to operate a hotel, you had to get a license. Of course, there was 1 or 2 hotels only in Georgia, and all deals and all business transactions were made in the lounges of those hotels. We didn't have a piano in our lounges, so we had a just lounge, not piano lounge, but actually that was the situation. After some time, we just got rid of all these licenses. No license right now. Only you need a construction license. That's it. Construction permission. Right now, you have lots of investments going into different businesses, amongst them in the hospitality business. Fighting corruption. Maybe, I guess that's one of the most important parts of business environment in Georgia. And what I've told you is all part of fighting corruption. Actually, simplification was the main tool for us to fight corruption, including tax code, including customs code, including everything. And that's not an accident why we decreased number of taxes from 21 to 6, because we just decided to make it as simple as possible. To try to take out all double interpretations from the tax code. And that gave us a huge benefit. But there is other side of it. And I call it carrot and stick formula. You cannot have public servants hanging out with a salary of $10 per month or $15 per month. It's impossible. In Georgia, that's what we had. And that was a moral argument for this employee to take bribes. Every morning, he could stand in front of the mirror and say that government is paying me so little that I won't be able to survive my family with that money. So in order for me to survive my family, I have to get bribed. And society, there was a consensus in society that there is a moral argument for this guy to be a corrupt person. So on the other hand, you have to give salaries to public servants. We decreased significantly, thank you. We decreased the number of public servants significantly, but whoever was left was given quite good salaries and, very importantly, performance-based bonuses. And I'll be talking about it later. This is the key of success of not only private sector, but also of public sector, performance-based bonuses. We actually did it for almost everybody, by the way, including ministers. Performance-based bonuses. We had, when I was prime minister, for every minister, I had key achievables, quarterly achievables, quantifiable. quantifiable achievables. For Minister of Energy, electricity was, for example, it was number of kilowatt hours exported. For somebody else was, for Ministry of Education, it was PISA results. For somebody else, it was very simple, key achievables, quantifiable achievables for the ministries. Plus, all of them had one single big point, which was GDP growth. Back then, it was very important for us to have a GDP growth, so the whole ministers were working as a team at the same time. They had their own achievables, but at the same time, they were working as a team. Other countries can have unemployment rate, other countries can have diversification from oil rate or so on and so on as a overarching objective for the whole government. In our case, we had GDP growth. So this stick and carrot was very, very important. On one hand, giving good salaries, but on the other hand, we would make sure that criminal charges were pressed against anybody who would go for corrupt cases. Without this, it's impossible.